Welcome to Adam Explains. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a supplement you probably think you already know inside and out. We're going to explore how the secret to a sharper, more resilient brain might just be hiding in your gym bag.
Right. Let's just jump in with a pretty bold statement. If you're one of the millions of people taking that standard 5 grams of creatine a day, well, you might be seriously underdosing for your brain and leaving its most powerful benefit completely on the table.
And hey, if you've never even touched the stuff because you figure it's just for bodybuilders, you're definitely going to want to stick around. We're about to dive into some brand new research that shows creatine is actually incredible fuel for your brain.
So why? Why isn't that standard gym dose enough to really fire up your brain? Well, the answer comes down to a really basic difference in how your biceps and your brain work.
Here's the deal. Your muscles, they soak up creatine like a sponge. It's easy for them. But your brain, it's a much tougher customer. There's this bottleneck that completely changes the conversation about how much you need.
And that bottleneck has a name. It's called the blood-brain barrier. You can think of it like a biological fortress designed to protect your most important organ by being incredibly picky about what it lets inside.
Now, creatine only has one way through this fortress, just one. It's a single, heavily guarded gate called the SL6A8 transporter. And here's the kicker. That gate is almost always busy. It's working near full capacity all the time. This means your brain has a much harder time absorbing creatine than your muscles do.
So, to really get why pushing past that gate is so important, we gotta talk about what a massive energy hog your brain is.
Get this, your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it chews through a whopping 20% of your daily energy. And creatine acts like a rapid recharge battery for your cells, recycling their main energy source, ATP, almost instantly. You could argue this job is even more important in your brain than it is in your biceps.
Okay, so let's get to the good stuff, the evidence. Because the latest research is starting to paint a really compelling picture of what creatine can do for your mind.
A huge study from just this year, 2024, looked at people who were sleep deprived, and what they found was wild. A single, large dose of creatine actually reversed some of the mental fog and decline that comes from being exhausted, and those effects lasted for up to 9 hours.
This makes the brain benefits of creatine real. You know, it's tangible. If you have ever had a horrible night of sleep, but you still had to show up and use your brain the next day, well, this finding is for you.
And it's not just that one study. Another major review, also from 2024, pulled together 16 different trials. It found that the strongest evidence for creatine is in improving memory. It also saw really positive signs for things like attention and how fast you can process information, especially in women and adults under 60.
Okay, so it seems like there are broad benefits, but the science is really starting to point to specific groups of people who could see the biggest gains from this cognitive boost.
Let's start with older adults, because honestly, the implications here are massive. Sarcopenia, which is just age-related muscle loss, is expected to affect a staggering 200 million people by the year 2050.
Now, for older adults, creatine does this amazing double duty. It helps preserve muscle and bone, which is just crucial for staying independent. But at the same time, it directly supports thinking and memory, the very things that can start to decline as we get older.
Look, given how strong the evidence is becoming for both body and brain, this is information that could be genuinely life-changing for some people. This is definitely the part you should be sharing with your parents or your grandparents.
The research also points to a particularly strong response in women who might metabolize creatine a bit differently, and also in vegetarians and vegans. And that makes perfect sense, right? Creatine is almost only found in animal products, so people who eat plant-based have lower levels to start with. That means when they supplement, the benefits can be way more dramatic.
Okay, so we've covered the why. Let's get down to brass tacks and talk about the how. How to do this safely and effectively, starting with the biggest myth that just won't die.
Let's just tackle this head-on. Creatine does not damage healthy kidneys, period. Multiple massive reviews have confirmed this. The reason this myth exists is because taking creatine raises a blood marker that doctors use to guess at your kidney function, so your lab results might look a little weird, but your actual kidneys are totally fine.
All right, now for a quick honesty check. Full disclosure, the decades of safety data we have are mostly for that standard 3 to 5 gram dose.
These higher doses for brain benefits, they've only really been studied in the short term. We're talking weeks or months, not years. So while they appear perfectly safe, it's a bet based on current evidence, not a long-term certainty.
So, putting it all together, here's a practical guide. For those brain benefits, think about starting with around 10 grams a day. It's a good idea to split that up, maybe 5 grams in the morning and 5 at night, just to avoid any potential stomach issues. And stick with good old creatine monohydrate. It's cheap and it's by far the most studied form. And finally, just be consistent. Taking it every single day is way more important than what time of day you take it. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that we really need to reframe how we think about this stuff. For decades, creatine has been pigeonholed as a gym supplement, but the science is making it crystal clear that it's a legitimate tool for cognitive support. It's not just muscle fuel, it's brain fuel.
Hey, if you found this helpful, do me a favor and subscribe to Adam Explains, because next we're going to dive deep into the really cool science of how creatine actually powers your cells. Trust me, you'll be the cool one when you learn to explain it. Thanks for tuning in.